Ice Age 5. Do you hear me? 5. They made 5 of these. DreamWorks didn't even make 5 of any of their franchises. Not even Shrek. How does a studio only make 13 movies and 5 of them are Ice Age? What a sick joke! In this one, Scrat finds a fucking UFO, which was technically set up as a background gag in the first Ice Age movie, which means they clearly planned this whole series out ahead of time. Oh my god, great work, Blue Sky! Thanks for tying the entire Ice Age saga together by doing this. It truly is amazing how they do every cliche imaginable with the daughter character in these movies. Like, I think she deserves a medal for most cliche character of all time. Even the Scrat shit is just tired and boring at this point. Ice Age can go fuck off. They took a relatively grounded and laid back first film and turned it into this obnoxious farce of a franchise. I am so burnt out from watching these movies that I never want to see any of them again. Fortunately, this is a franchise that has had practically zero cultural impact, despite having 5 movies that raked in billions of dollars at the box office. Nobody talks about Ice Age except when they say how much they want to kill the baby for some reason. No one gives a shit about these movies, and I couldn't be happier about that. Just put these animals out of their misery already. They deserve to go extinct. Thank you, bye. Why is this movie even called epic when nothing epic happens in it? Ice Age 4. This is the first one of these movies that absolutely should not have been made. You could argue the second and third ones shouldn't have been made as well, but at least they come together with the first one to form a perfectly mediocre trilogy. There is no reason to continue past the end of the third one, and it shows. What's up, my man? In this wacky and completely necessary new adventure, Scrat becomes God himself and begins terraforming the entire planet. Also, Manny is Jesus, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what this line implies.
When exactly will I be allowed to hang out with boys?
When I'm dead. Plus 3 days. Just to make sure I'm dead.
This vulture villain is tasked with stealing Horton's clover, and he says he's gonna eat it. But then he doesn't eat it when he has it. He just dropped it in the big clover field. Why did he not just eat it like he said he would? Why is there so much boring slapstick filler in both the jungle and Whoville? Why set up this council in Whoville who doesn't believe the mayor that Horton exists if you don't have a scene where they realize they're wrong? Why is the mayor's son emo in this? And why is he voiced by Jesse McCartney? He has like 5 lines in the whole movie. What was the point? Why did they break out into a random pop song at the end of this movie? Why are there so many pop culture references? Why is there a cringeworthy anime sequence in the middle of this movie? Actually, I shouldn't complain. That was my favorite part of the whole thing. That's what I wanted more of in this movie. Cringe. It was the only way to salvage it because clearly Dr. Seuss movies are not meant to be stretched into 90-minute films. They always gotta have terrible bullshit filler and pointless celebrities and ultimately be extremely boring and tedious. Then again, maybe I should be grateful this movie isn't too cringy, because if this movie was released nowadays, they absolutely would have named the sour kangaroo Karen, and I don't think I could inject that much pure, unadulterated cringe into my veins. Sorry. There's only one piece of value I derived from this movie, and that is our Lord and Savior, Yummo Wickersham. Praise be to him. Yeah, I don't know why, but a few months ago, my friend group started obsessing over Yummo Wickersham as a meme. I don't get it, but like, who am I to question memes? So yes, thank you, Yummo Wickersham, for blessing us by sticking a bajillion bananas in your mouth hole. Thank you for having approximately the same amount of lines as Jesse McCartney, yet graciously foregoing top billing in this movie because you did this for the art, not the recognition. Thank you, Dan Fogler, for bringing this simian saint to life. I would walk the length of the world to get Yummo back in my life. Please, Disney, let Blue Sky come back to deliver us one final swan song. The Yummo Wickersham origin story. We need to know the full history of this glorious, magnificent creature. Okay guys, I hope that was good. Now time to forget about Yummo and go back to making Gargamel memes instead. Plus, not that this really means much, but it somehow garnered an Oscar nomination for Best Animated Feature. One of only 2 Blue Sky movies to do so, alongside Ice Age 1. Nah, first we gotta have an epic out-of-nowhere dance-off with these German horses. And guess what? They dab! Hey yo, best movie ever! Oscar nomination ahoy, baby! People were paid to animate this. Real live people. They brought this image into this world, and there's nothing as a society that we can do about it.
Look at what you've done! Now the animators are gonna have to draw all this fire!
When the dinosaur mom comes to get her kids back, Sid refuses to hand them over. I, for one, love it when a main character is completely stupid and in the wrong. Like not even partially correct, just 100% wrong and absolutely deserving of getting kidnapped by this dinosaur. At one point, Diego sees the dinosaur carry off Sid, and his reaction is so hilariously nonchalant. Like, yeah, it's no big deal. He sees dinosaurs all the time, apparently. Scrat fights Lady Scrat, and I don't know, it's kind of funny to see him eventually fall in love with her, only to have an affair with his precious nut. Yeah, I think that's all I liked. This movie is boring, it makes dinosaurs boring somehow, and they should have just ended Ice Age here. But of course they didn't, because we were all put on this earth to suffer. This definitely isn't the worst animated movie out there, but it is really standard for the most part. I think Jesse Eisenberg was a really weird choice to play this McCall. Like, his voice acting isn't funny or charming, it's just kind of bleh. I don't know, he's never really been able to sell me on any of his performances post-Social Network, and it's no different here. Plus, he absolutely has no chemistry with Anne Hathaway Bird, which is due in equal parts to the voice acting and the writing. Spoiler for later in the list, I guess, but I saw no reason why Manny and Ellie should have hooked up in Ice Age 2 outside of the need to preserve their species. And the problem is kind of exacerbated here because they mentioned the whole need to preserve their species thing even less. And they make even less sense as a romantic pairing. I have no idea what Mark Zuckerberg did to get Anne Hathaway to fall for him. She just kind of does at some point because this is an animated movie. We gotta have a hetero love. Gotta check off every box in the checklist. Thank you very much. Hell, we actually have 2 hetero loves because I forgot about these humans falling in love. Which I guess makes more sense because they're both extreme bird lovers, but that's not actually why they fall in love. They fall in love because they see each other in sexy bird outfits during the last 20 minutes of the movie. That's cool, very well written, very well developed romance. Thank you for that. Rio 2 was not as good as the first.
Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, I don't know why, but even though this was kind of an objectively less competent movie than Rio 1, I weirdly had more fun with it and wasn't really bored. It's like the Spider-Man 3 thing all over again. Sometimes I just like when a movie has 5 different unrelated subplots going on at once and forgets to resolve some of them by the end. There's like 5 different villain groups in this movie. They meet Anne Hathaway's bird dad, and he's a huge asshole to Blue, and this never gets resolved by the end of the movie. But also, we have Jermaine Clement and his goons who want to kill Blue in order to get revenge for the first movie, which is 100% disconnected from everything else going on, even though it's kind of the best part of the movie. But then, we have these Redbirds who seek to control the nuts, so they play this soccer game against the Bluebirds in order to see who can grab those nuts. But then, we have this hunter villain guy who is deforesting the rainforest, and he likes lollipops.
Lollipops.
I don't even know if this guy has a name. He's the main villain, and he's only on screen for like 5 minutes. It's hilarious. The humans from the first movie are back, and they contribute nothing to the plot. They're just vibing in the rainforest. And then eventually, all the birds team up to take down the evil humans and their evil machines.
Move it out, do the shit, take it back, and do the shit.
If I have to talk about Ice Age for any longer, I'm going to have a meltdown. This one is fine, but even as early as the second installment, you can tell this franchise was running out of steam. In the original, Manny and Diego had somewhat complex and well-developed character arcs, but in this one, their stories boil down to, will Diego get over his fear of water, and will Manny fuck this new lady mammoth he just met who thinks she's a possum? Yeah, throughout the whole movie, everyone keeps talking about how mammoths are practically extinct and Manny and Ellie might be the last ones, but then out of nowhere, at the very end, a herd of mammoths show up, which means Manny and Ellie no longer have any moral obligation to fuck each other. But Manny still wants to be with her, which is weird. I didn't really feel like they had much chemistry over the course of the movie, and I feel like they'd be better off as friends, but this is a 2000s animated movie, so we gotta have romance. SMH, whatever. At one point, Sid gets kidnapped by a tribe of mini sloths, and at the age of 8, I distinctly remember feeling marketed to by this scene. Like, this was definitely a prototype Minion situation. It has no bearing on the plot, and could be removed without anything changing, and was clearly just here to push these mini sloths as a potential mascot, but I don't know, the scene went in an unexpected direction that I thought was kind of funny, so whatever. The vultures sing Food, Glorious Food from Oliver for some reason. I don't know, I didn't hate that surprisingly, even though I hate Oliver with a burning passion. Scrat is pretty good in this one actually. The slapstick is solid and he impacts the plot in a few ways, but not in stupid over-the-top bullshit ways like in the later movies. But yeah, overall, I'm not really feeling this one. It just kind of feels like a watered-down version of the first movie.
Get it?
Except the animation and the scale of the story and climax. climax. The movie genuinely looks really good for 2006, and the apocalyptic threat is definitely felt, but the new characters are kinda lame and annoying. The old characters don't have nearly as much emotional weight to their storylines. The jokes are less good, the writing in general is less good. Oh well, at least it's not Ice Age 3 Dawn of the Dinosaurs, or Ice Age 4 Continental Drift, or Ice Age 5. How fucking cool is that domino scene, for real? In fact, how fucking cool is this world in general? Like, look at it, it's so imaginative and creative and whimsical, and it looks nothing like our own world. It looks like a place robots would live in. And they actually put some thought into how robots age, for them needing new parts and new voice boxes, and it's so cool. Let's be fucking honest with ourselves for a second here. Robots put way more thought into its world building and how the world affected the story than Cars did. And it's just a better movie in general. Like, with Cars, you just have so many questions about how these car people work, and the world literally just looks like our world, but sometimes car themed. You could do the story of the first Cars movie with humans and it wouldn't make much of a difference. Meanwhile, with robots, you actually understand how they work, and the story actually ties into them being robots, and wouldn't make sense if they weren't robots. Just, can we finally acknowledge that Pixar really shat the bed with Cars, and it's only this popular and semi-respected because it has the Pixar name attached to it? Friends, I have talked a lot of shit about Ice Age today. Can you blame me? It's an absolutely asinine franchise that poisoned our water supply, burned our crops, and delivered a plague onto our houses. But with that said, honestly, the first one's kind of good. Like, yeah, the animation is ugly. It definitely has that studio's first CG movie syndrome. And there's your usual poop and pee jokes that suck as usual. But I think as a whole, this is a movie with some pretty smart character arcs and an engaging enough story. Manny and Sid in this are just blatantly Shrek and Donkey, but without the nuance that made that relationship so compelling and special. Also, I never got why everyone hated the Ice Age baby a couple years back. But, yeah, f that baby, am I right? You just really want him to catch a break and impress the little red-haired girl. And while it's sad to see all his missteps, it's nice that most of them happen because he does the right thing and helps his friends. Charlie Brown is just such an honest, pure character, and this movie really gets that. Like, there's a scene where everyone's praising Charlie Brown at this assembly because he got a perfect score on his test. But it turns out he accidentally put his name on the wrong one, and this is actually Peppermint Patty's. So what does he do? He comes clean about it right then and there when he realizes it. Whereas every other shitty ass kids movie would have him lie because he likes the attention, and then eventually the liar will be revealed and everyone will hate him, and then he'll realize he was wrong. No, none of that bullshit in Peanuts, thankfully. This isn't Dear Evan Hansen. Yeah, I know, right? What the fuck? Please forgive me, Lord, for I have sinned. But I just really liked the Will Smith pigeon movie. I remember when the trailer for this thing dropped and everyone was so blown away by how cool all the spy stuff looked, myself included. And then he turns himself into a pigeon. Funniest shit I've ever seen. Obviously the best part is the very beginning when it does feel like a legit spy film. Like, this shit is really well animated and choreographed and exciting. It feels nothing like anything Blue Sky's ever made before, and it's pretty wild tonally. Like, did you ever expect to hear the Yakuza mentioned in a kid's film? Because they sure do mention them here. Tom Holland is a pacifist who likes to rely on goofy weapons, while Will Smith just wants to kill people. Yeah, this movie has no problem killing people and mentioning how many people Will Smith killed. It's kinda cool, actually. We do have typical poop and pee and shit and gross jokes, because of course we do, and those suck as always. But I feel like it could have been way worse. Like, there's these pigeons who bond with Will Smith Pigeon and help him out. And thankfully, they don't talk. I feel like this was the perfect opportunity for Blue Sky to add in more shitty, annoying celebrities, but I guess they just figured the two charming ones they had were enough. So these sidebirds are completely silent, which is perfect. Silence is bliss. Shut the fuck up, Slug from Epic. You're so annoying. Oh my god.